Oh, yeah.
Poetry, I tell my students, is idiosyncratic. Poetry is where we are ourselves. Though Sterling Brown said every eye is a dramatic eye, digging in the calm flats for the shell that snaps, emptying the proverbial pocketbook, poetry is what you find in the dirt in the corners. Over here on the bus, God in the details. The only way to get from here to there. Poetry, and now my voice is rising, is not all love, 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 and I'm sorry the dog died. Poetry, here I hear myself loudest, is the human voice. And are we not of interest to each other?
Let's talk about this poem.
It's not only about being happy and being open to the world, but having strength out in the world.
It's pretty much what she's telling you, that poetry can be anything you want.
As long as yeah.
Poetry is, then poetry is, then poetry is, and then she ends with a question, like she doesn't know.
Because she leaves it then open-ended. You know, what is it to you, sort of, maybe? I don't know. Do your poetry is, poetry is, poetry is, poetry is, poetry is. And then the next round, just like you said, the question, the question, the question, the question. Does that make sense?
Poetry is like lemonade, so bitter yet so sweet. Poetry is the sound of the trees on a summer morning.
Poetry is that one different beat in the music.
Poetry is the sunshine that is shining on the carpet coming through the window.
Poetry is a present you never expected from a new friend or a gift your oldest relative remembered.
Poetry is the feeling of collapsing on a beanbag chair after getting home from work.
Poetry is the scary hobo in your attic.
Poetry is the stars light in the black abyss of the night.
Poetry is the curve of a hand or crevice of a dress in a painting.
Poetry is the red light and the green light in the traffic.
Poetry is the feeling when you swallow hot chocolate and it spreads warmth throughout your body.
Poetry is the golden sunshine breaking through dark clouds on a rainy day.
Poetry is a journey waiting to be.
Poetry is Monday at 7 a.m. or Friday at 2 p.m.
Poetry is what you want, when you want it, and where you want it to be.
Poetry is a singleton. Poetry is the voyage in a vast sea of possibility.
Poetry is the cream of the crop.
Poetry is the making of a clay pot as it sticks to your hands.
Poetry is the tiny flow of the wind past your ear. What is your flow?
Poetry is the reflection you see in the beautiful water. Where does your reflection lie?
Poetry is the place where you swim in the pool. Where will you swim?
Poetry is the simplicity of climbing a tree. Which tree is your poetry?
What will you do?
What is poetry for you?
Did Karen really take the kids?
What is your how? Where does your poetry hide?
What is the opposite of poetry?
Poetry is the picture you get when you close your eyes. What do you see?
Poetry is a friend that always has your back. What is your poetry?
What do you think poetry is?
Poetry is where you make a world of your own. What's your world?
What do you think it is?
Poetry is emotion. How do you feel?
Where will you go?
What is poetry to you?
I guess we're all poetry, aren't we?